There's no question that video game graphics are a major part of the appeal of the software you choose and play. In fact, it was the very first thing you saw when a game was introduced to you. Whether it's a simple picture in an article, a video on YouTube, a teaser trailer, or just some random screenshot on social media, the visuals would make the very first impression before you ever held a controller in your hand. Back in the 8 and 16-bit days, it was often the knife edge of every argument between platform evangelists. Or to put it more bluntly, my system was more powerful and capable graphically than your system. Aside from the basic color and sprite capabilities, backgrounds played a major role in the appeal of 2D graphics. When a developer wanted to go the extra mile and really make their engines impressive, they'd add cool effects like parallax and line scrolling, which could give some excellent results for making things look almost three-dimensional. Some hardware could do these types of things natively, while others had to simulate them with different sprite and raster effects. It didn't really matter to me how the hardware pulled it off, I just enjoyed the end result. In this episode, we'll take a little journey and look at some games that really impressed me with different styles of background scrolling. Some of it was parallax, some of it was line scrolling, and some of it was just different parts of the background moving at different speeds. But in the end, it was all incredible to me. I can't tell you where I saw my first instance of really impressive multi-layer background scrolling. It almost certainly was in the arcade. I recall games like Moon Patrol having different background parts moving that gave a great feeling of depth, a game I played quite a bit of back then. I no doubt saw it here and there over the years after, but I really began to take notice of it as something I really desired in games around the time the Sega Genesis showed up. Because it was among the first home consoles capable of multiple background layers in hardware, damn near every game supported it in some form. Right from launch, I was pretty much blown away by what I was seeing. 1989 had been a banner year for 2D games really making strides against their arcade counterparts, and background scrolling played a huge part in that. Hell, some games like Altered Beast had multiple layers where the arcade version didn't. Of course, as games got bigger and better, so did the background effects within them. I became so fascinated with some games because it seemed like there could be whole other stories just in the locations around the main game. Take something like Super Castlevania 4 for instance. Entire games could be hidden away in those dark forests and mountains. Of course, a great presentation was made all the better by some extra layers in the background. Just seeing clouds move back and forth in Road Rash was great stuff, and I would replay ACTRAISER over and over just to see its impressive layers. As you can imagine, some developers made the various background effects the stars of their engine. You only need to fire up something like Rocket Knight Adventures to see how much this is the case. Aside from the quality of sprite work and animation itself, everything else pretty much depended on the quality of the backgrounds. But 16-bit games weren't the only ones to make use of impressive scrolling effects. Like a lot of things in gaming, I was always fascinated with consoles doing things they weren't necessarily meant to do. Systems like the TurboGrafx and NES were supposed to be capable of just a single layer of scrolling, yet through some innovative software design, they could be just as impressive as anything on the Genesis and Super Nintendo. A quick look at Aero Blaster shows some really nice separation in the sky and ground portions that look really nice. Dead Moon was another one that had some great looking scrolling. The list keeps going too. Magical Chase had some really nice visuals with different layers, and who the hell can forget stuff like Gate of Thunder? You got it there as good as anything you had on the true 16-bit systems. It's funny when you see games like this on the vanilla PC Engine because it makes you wonder why they ever felt they needed the super graphics in the first place. We also can't leave out the other 8-bit hardware while on this topic. While most games rarely touched upon powerhouse scrolling techniques, there are some incredible exceptions. The first time I saw Shinobi on the Game Gear, I was really impressed. While what you are seeing there isn't parallax scrolling, it does give you a taste of a few scrolling effects usually reserved for the more powerful hardware. The NES did things like this in a number of titles, including the Ninja Gaidens. Hell, who doesn't remember seeing that castle scene? If you really wanted to see some Parallax on the NES though, you had to play Swordmaster, one of the most visually pleasing titles on the platform. Just check out that separation in layers. That's just not some clouds at the top of the screen. That genuinely looks like the old NES could do that in hardware. Another 8-bit title that really blew me away was Aladdin. Some of the levels there gave the illusion it was rendered with polygons, a truly impressive effect. Thankfully, the appreciation for scrolling techniques didn't die out with the explosion of polygon gaming. During the 32-bit era, 2D games were still being made, and many of them had some killer background effects. You can find numerous examples of great parallax on the Sega Saturn. Fire up a stall and be prepared to be floored by what's going on behind the sprites. That generation also had Castlevania Symphony of the Night in its flashy use of layering, and of course the 2D epic beat-em-up Guardian Heroes has numerous instances of impressive backdrops behind all that action. Some engines even mixed in polygon elements with 2D background effects to really give games a unique look. Thunder Force 5 springs to mind, particularly the Saturn's additional VDP2 effects. Hell, we could spend the next hour talking about Saturn 2D games and their parallax effects, so I'll just leave a few here for you to salivate over. To this day, I still appreciate the effects you see in 2D games. I don't really care whether it's real or simulated, whether it's done in hardware or software. All I wanted was more of it. I think a big part of my love of the Sega Genesis was its unabashed use of parallax and other background effects. I mean, it was prominent in damn near everything. It thrilled me so much to see it, it was part of the gameplay appeal to see the next stage and what else could be done. One of the most disappointing things a 16-bit title could do in my eyes was have flat backgrounds without any attempt at multiple layers. I can't tell you how many games I wanted to be ported to the Genesis just to see them with more background effects. I mean, games like the legendary Axe were already beautiful, just imagine it with some clouds and mountains back there moving at different speeds. BONK'S Adventure was another one just screaming for some parallax. I guess I wanted to do this video just to show off some great games, confess my love of the technique seen here, and get you to share some of your favorites in case I missed any. The world can be a complicated place, my friends. Don't be afraid to revel in the simple things. I'm Sega Lord X. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.